Hello, I'm Robin Vincent and welcome back to the Molten Music Technology Labs here in deepest Norfolk. A while ago I did a review of the Editor's Keys backlit shortcut keyboard for Studio One. They wanted to send me one and I said, okay, it looks interesting, and so I had a look and I did a nice video. And then Logic Keyboard got in touch to say, hey, we do the shortcut things. In fact, we do the shortcut keyboards far better than anybody else has ever done them. In fact, there isn't anybody else who ever does them. So whatever it was you did that video on, they don't really exist. It's just us. Just us. Hey, have a look at our keyboard. It's not backlit, not that anything is backlit, but it comes with a little light instead. Rightio, I said. So although I don't really want to become the king of keyboard reviews, I was kind of intrigued by what they were saying and also sort of by the level of their snobbiness. So I thought, well, I better give it a whirl then. And here it is. Look at all the pretty colours. Ooh, shiny. Yes, very nice. For those of you who don't know, a shortcut keyboard is essentially a QWERTY keyboard that has printed on it all sorts of shortcuts that you use in your creative software. It can be enormously helpful. I mean, if you're the sort of person who uses just the mouse all the time, you can become kind of very hunched over and focus exactly on what the one thing that you're doing. But if you start using keyboard shortcuts, you find yourself opening up and you're moving about all over the place. You're using more than just one hand. You're tapping away and things are opening and closing and moving and you're editing, and your workflow can improve dramatically. So I'm a big fan of keyboard shortcuts. I think if you're using any kind of creative software, you should get to know keyboard shortcuts. And the great thing about a keyboard shortcut keyboard is that you don't have to remember absolutely every single one because they're laid out in front of you. Constant little reminders that with just a couple of key presses you can do all sorts of awesome things. So Logic keyboards do a wide range of keyboards for all sorts of creative software like Pro Tools, Logic, Reason, Cubase, but also for Photoshop and Illustrator and other bits of creative software. And I would heartily recommend checking them out. If you're sort of a visual person and want to kind of change or improve upon how you're working, then keyboard shortcuts is the way forward. And I would suggest it's the sort of thing you should look into. So let's go and have a look. So here we are. Here it is, sitting here with Studio One open, of course. And as you can see, it looks quite neat. I mean, I can't do a direct comparison to the Editor's Keys ones because they're just sort of made differently and have a completely different feel. But I've used Editor's Keys regular keyboards as well, and to be honest, they both feel really good. There's really only so far you can go with making a keyboard feel good. I mean, most keyboards are thrown in with the computer and are pretty rubbish. But if you throw like 20 quid or something at a keyboard, you're going to get something half decent. The Logic keyboard one is 80 quid. And before the Editor's Keys ones came along, they were more like 125 quid, 140 quid even. But Logic keyboard have been doing it for a lot longer, and I actually really like the fact that Editor's Keys have come along and given them a bit of a kick up the arse and have shown them that you can do something similar for much less money. And that's had the great effect of bringing down the price of the Logic keyboards. Competition, whether they believe it exists or not, is always a good thing. So yeah, it's good. Have a look. Can you see that? You know, it's made of plastic. Obviously, I mean, it looks like aluminium on the top because it is. It has this aluminium sort of veneer, if you like, but it doesn't mean the whole thing is made of metal. The wobble on it, see the twist on it? It ain't much really, which is good. It's nice and steady, and it has a weight, an uncommon weight, of surprising weight, which is, again, no bad thing. The little sticky things on the bottom seem to come off relatively easy, which is a shame, but never mind. They stick back on again, so that's okay. I've been using this for a couple of weeks now, and it's nice. It's nice to type on. I have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. It's easily as good as my regular keyboard, which I spent, as I say, 20, 30 quid on. And so from that point of view, it's got a really nice typing feel. Let me show you a little bit closer up. So yeah, here you go. See, nice and shiny. Everything's very clearly laid out. I mean, I like the fact that the colours are quite muted. It's not horribly garish and sitting there like some kind of abomination in front of your studio. As you can see, you know, the travel is good. It's just a fine, good quality laptop style keyboard. Feels good, feels nice to use. lovely. However, there's one feature which for me is absolute dynamite, and that's this. See that? That's a USB socket in the side of the keyboard. There's one on the other end as well. That's 2 USB ports on the side of the keyboard. Now, why would that be genius? Well, just because it is, because it gives you a USB port which is completely and utterly accessible. Da, 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 da. There we go. Thank you very much. And that just plugs in the side. It's brilliant. I mean, in all my years, I've always thought that having any USB device should include a hub so that you can chain stuff together, so you can keep going, so you don't then use up all your ports. So something like this, for me personally, is awesome. I've always been on the lookout for keyboard USB ports. I used to, or no, we do sell little computers at Molten Music Technology which would really benefit from having a keyboard with a couple of USB ports, because it saves you having to reach around the back. It might be set up on a shelf somewhere or put down out of the way, and it's a really useful thing. But of course, that also allows them to use their light. So let me show you that. Here it is. It's a really thin little thing with a gooseneck. Ooh. Thing here, light thing here, and this is the little genius USB connection, so that it goes into the side like so. See, I didn't even have to look, it just goes in the right place. And then this hangs over your keyboard, and touch it on the top and it's on, and it's illuminated. Illumination, that's what I have. There's 2 levels of illumination, and off again, and on, and on, and on. Disco, disco, disco. So there it is. That's their solution to a dimly lit studio, is to plug in a little light, and it's really neat. It's a neat solution. You can angle it round and blind yourself with it. Angle it back down again. Oh, it's the screen. So you can throw the correct amount of light. So of course what we want to really do is see what it looks like in the dark. Clap off. There you are. So, illumination on my keyboard. Let me turn it off. So there you go. With nothing on at all, yeah, I can just about see with the glow from the computer, but with this on, fabulous. Throws out plenty of light into the surrounding area as well, so I can also see my mouse, which is no bad thing, and I could see something here. If I had something here, I can turn it down one if it's a little bit too bright, and it still gives a good throw of light. It's beautiful. So it's off, on full beam, dimmed a little bit, and now I can see everything properly. That's great. So it demonstrates totally that it works, except for one thing. My screen here is a touch screen, a multi-touch screen. It's what I use for messing about in the mixer with Studio One, and so actually moving from keyboard to mixer, this blooming light is going to get in the way. It just is. You know, similarly, if you have a keyboard controller or something set here just beyond your keyboard, or a mixer, then this light is suddenly going to start getting in the way. Also, it's not completely rigid, you know, it moves about quite a lot, so when you start typing, it does tend to, it does tend to wobble a bit. So although it's a good solution, you can see what they've done and it works, it's not perfect for every situation. Sadly, not perfect for me. Right, let's have a look at the keyboard shortcuts, the bit that it's all supposed to be about, and for that, I think we can turn the lights back on. Clap on! Oh, that's better. Keyboard shortcuts, then what are they all about? Well, very simply put, they give us a better workflow so that I don't have to be going through menus all the time. I mean, for instance, if I wanted to loop a part of this track that I've got set up here, I could select the right tool. So I've got the numbers here 1 to 8, select the different tools. So I've got, you know, the pointer tool, that square rangy tool, the slicey tool, the rubbery tool, the pencil tool, mute tool, that kind of thing. So I can just select my pointer, I can select this particular region, And I know that if I press P, it says loop selection snapped. So I can press that and the loop comes to it. And then there's got this question mark key down here that I can turn the loop on and off. And there it goes, on and off. So rather than trying to set a loop point somewhere, I can do that very quickly with the keyboard shortcuts. Of course, I've got play and pause here. And I've got one there as well. I can go forward and backwards, forward, backwards, forward, backwards, forward, backwards. Loop on and off, forward, backwards. Return to the start. So all sorts of things you can do. The T key will add a track. Okay, add a track, and Shift T will remove it. So I can remove a whole load of tracks, which I didn't mean to do. Let's undo all of that. I know that undo is Control and Z because it's written on here, even if you didn't know what that was. These yellow keys over here seem to be something to do with markers. So I can go jump to and from on those. Those are just single command ones. I've got a little bit of movement here, up and down. And if I was to hold a modifier, that then moves the screen up and down. If I was to use Shift, it selects up and down. And that information is all communicated on the keys itself. If I open an editor by pressing F2, I need to select something useful first, like that, I can then do different things in here. Now it should be noted that the toolbar is different in the editor than it is in the main page. So actually these keys, although they still select tools, they're actually selecting different tools than the picture that's on them. But that's just, I guess, something you'll just have to learn. So here with this bit, again using my arrow keys here, I can move notes up and down. But if I use the Shift key, I can move it an entire octave. It says here, extend. Or if I go to the right, I can select lots of different notes all together, as opposed to if I didn't have that modifier attached, I would just go one note at a time. So already knowing about the extra keyboard shortcuts that this has over the editor's keys ones, I'm already doing a lot more, which is great. Now if we look a little bit closer at these keys, you can see that they're not colour all the way up like the editor's keys ones. These are just sort of half done in colour. That's so that the writing above it, which shows you what can happen with the modifier keys, can be nice and clear, and you can accurately see that the colours here, the pink, the blue and the purple, refer to the Shift, the Control and the Alt. So with our R key here, it will arm a track, or with the purple key it will do something on tracks, and with the blue key it will do ranges, and with the pink key it will go rewind audio, or something along those lines. I still can't quite figure out what the colours are supposed to represent. I mean, you know, these are tools here, I can get that. I mean, these pink ones here seem to be something to do with zoom, but they've also got undo and redo on them, as well as close and something else. And there's pink ones over here, and they seem to be for zooming in as well, but that's for backspace. So I don't really know. You've got yellow ones over here which seem to do with markers, but you've also got a yellow one over here. I guess that one is insert a marker, so that's why those are similar. Transport controls all seem to be this light blue colour, which you've got over here, and also here, which are to do with loops and location select. So I suppose that makes some kind of sense, but it's not entirely clear. However, the layout here is very clear. Everything is very, very readable, and even if you're not entirely sure what it says, it's going to be an easy thing to look up, and then the reminder on here is going to be all you're going to need. So yeah, you've got a lot more keyboard shortcuts listed out and shown for your money, and that's no bad thing. So to summarise then, the Logic Keyboard Presonus Studio One shortcut keyboard is, it's a decent keyboard. It's pleasingly weighty, looks nice, feels lovely, it's easy to work on, and it has a massive number of these keyboard shortcuts on it. It's got a professional feel to it. The colouring on it is thankfully inoffensive, and the use of the modifier keys allows it to have about 3 times more shortcuts on it than that other one that we're not supposed to talk about. The USB port on the side is excellent. It should be the standard on every single keyboard. It's just one of the greatest things ever. The little light is nice. It's a great idea. It's a great solution for working in low light kind of conditions, although not for me. The problem is if you've got a controller, a mixer, a touchscreen, anything which goes on the other side of your keyboard, or if you use your keyboard in one of those slidey out drawers, then this is completely useless. Which is a shame because I like it as a concept, as an idea. It's a decent solution. However, with or without the light, the keyboard does a really good job. It does what it's supposed to do. It provides the keyboard shortcuts. It feels really nice to use. I'm going to be using it, I think, all the time. I'm not going to go back to my crummy old keyboard. Oh no. So on balance, having used both the editor's keys and the Logic keyboard keyboards, I think I prefer the feel of the Logic Keyboard One, but I prefer the backlit solution of the editor's keys one. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Logic Keyboard do with their forthcoming backlit version. So there you are. I hope that's useful. Keyboard shortcuts are great. Go get something with them on. And in the meantime, go make some tunes.